it's weird to introduce somebody who I've been watching getting dressed for a good
Quite an obscure thing.
no, absolutely. But you're yeah, you're on Instagram and all this kind of stuff, but you're I can't work out what you are. You're quite clearly a good bloke who has clearly found himself, and that's what I want to get to. I can't work out whether you're an influencer, slight sick of mouth. I can't work out if you're an influencer or you're a poet or a mental health advocate, but the way you just tell your story is fantastic. But the thing that I really like about you is obviously I know a bit about your story from what you shared through your reels and this kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
the rest of this is your story to tell. You say what you want to say and what you don't want to say. But you are truly one of those people who's, by the looks of it, has been through a bit of crap.
Mm,
You've really found yourself.
mm.
And
Yeah,
I'm
thank you for the
yeah,
kind word. Um, I,
no,
I I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, I guess I don't really know what what's going on online. To be honest, I enjoyed style. It was part of my journey towards sobriety, and it it wasn't fundamental whatsoever, but it was a symptom of seeking um, sobriety in a way, of seeking health, of seeking wellness and vitality. And I guess that's why I am expressing myself with clothes. One, it's ritualistic and routine driven, and it is. And that is an anchor point for me. It anchors me in my day, in the present moment. And it's not just an anchor point that creates structure and predictability. It also is an anchor point which is concerning wellness, concerning self-compassion, or concerning paying attention to oneself, maybe not in an egotistical way to self-aggrandize myself, but in a way in which is tender towards myself, in a way in which takes time to give myself a moment in the morning or whenever it is the morning to care for my body. And I guess because I abused and terrorized my body with drug addiction for so long, this is an act of gratitude for life, an act of gratitude for being alive, so to speak, and an act of um, defiance towards maybe those voices that in me that didn't want me to survive or have sobriety. And it's a, I guess, if you are saying you found vitality, etc., then you judge a tree by its fruits, and you should be able to taste and see that. So I guess I started. It became meaningful for me. So I thought, and my wife was like, "You should share that." And I thought, "No way! I've never had social media. I don't even know what it's about, really. Isn't it just for people to flaunt their egos?" And she was
yeah,
like, "No, no, no. You can use it however you want." And I thought, "Wow, that type of freedom's appealing." And started just expressing myself on there, doing my little daily rituals of getting changed. And sooner or later, I thought that's not good enough. I can't find enough meaning in just getting changed. I have to bring something more because this world around me, including myself, is a broken one, and I see a gaping need in myself and in society at large for meaning to be established amongst people and for uh, community to be established on a sincere and sharing basis. And my personality is geared towards finding meaning in all things and searching outside of myself. So it became natural to express myself in that way on Instagram, I think.
yeah. I've worked out what it is, what why I like your content. I've just clicked after just listening to what he's saying. I think I don't know how to say this without sounding a bit like an arsehole. Not about you, but I find a lot of people who have been through a mental health journey or a drug journey or drink journey, where when they start advocating, I think sometimes they can get. I think I've probably fallen foul of it, where we start telling other people what to do.
Yeah.
And I think with you, you don't. You just talk about your journey.
Mm.
And I think that's incredible. Like it's literally like you've just got rid of any shame. You said about drugs, and you did say that, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Obviously, I've seen your reels, but I purposely do these videos where you only talk about what you want to talk. So sorry if I outed you on that one. But you've got rid
No,
of
no.
you've got rid of all of a lot of the shame, and you've truly found yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's depending on how deep you want to go on these and what you condone and what you speak about. I thank God. God did it for me.
I, I'm
That's a whole other conversation.
I'm a Christian, so yeah.
So I'm a Christian, yeah. So
Right, okay.
interesting. So I this opens up a whole new conversation in my eyes, and I was unaware of whether or not I was allowed to go there, and I was happy to teeter around on the edges. But really, at the end of the day, to put it bluntly, I didn't do it myself. I was an addict for 13 years, on the street for 2.5 years, and tried off my own back for 7 years to get clean. Different strategies, different methods. Deleting all numbers on my phone, moving environments, going cold turkey, white knuckle willpower, attempting to get clean and just evade the voices in my head, the shame, the lack of self-worth. I then followed into Buddhism and the concepts of Buddhism. I traveled to India, followed a guru around for a small amount of time, bought all of his books, and then got into Advaita Vedanta, which was the mystical sector of Hinduism. It was called the Pathless Path, and it condoned the non-dual worldview that we are Brahman, we are God, but we have forgotten that we're God. And the whole point of life is to wake up to our divine identity. We're God playing a game of cosmic hide and seek with himself, if you like. And so I bought into that worldview, and I started meditating for 2 hours a day. And I would do this form of meditation, self-inquiry. And I would try and look inward at the I am. I would see myself, Josh, and then that would collapse through enough passive observance, and the I would crop up, the I that's always been there, that I identify myself with things. And I would look for a couple of years and eventually collapsed the I, and the I collapsed, and I entered into a state of isness. It was like a vast open field of consciousness within me, but there was no unique identity or being there whose name was me. I was just a part of this field of God consciousness, if you like. And I was using psychedelics in a way in which was to seek meaning, to seek healing, to seek trauma understanding through interacting with these strange entities that I found through taking high doses of mushrooms, LSD and DMT, and I grew these and cultivated them and took them for years on my own in forests whilst following these New Age or pantheistic Middle Eastern belief systems. And the entities in the psychedelic realms were teaching me about the non-dual path, and they're the things they were telling me, and they were performing healings on my soul, lengthy healings that were made, and also at the same time they were imposing experiences of awakening upon me, where information was downloaded into me that I understood about self, other, and the universe. And I was becoming pent up, spiritually bloated on all of this information. But deep down, I still had a ketamine problem. I still was treating people in a way in which wasn't kind. I was still an egomaniac in a way, despite this spiritual, dazzling information that these seemingly beings from another realm had taught me. To cut a long story short, I, in the end, went and smoked toad secretion with a Mexican shaman in Switzerland, 5-MeO-DMT, the God molecule. And I went there, traveled there. I read the guy's book, got to the last page, and there was just an email address. And I was like, I'm gonna email this. And I emailed him and was like, yeah, I want to take your medicine. I've been searching for years on end. I'm a drug addict, haven't found meaning still. And I looked in hedonism, sleeping around. I looked in violence, fighting on the street, and drinking, and pleasure and dopamine seeking. I looked at getting experiences and going traveling. I looked at trying to find a career and identify myself with an identity with career. And I looked at traveling the world and having cool experiences and racking up cool experiences. And all of these left me feeling hollow, but I'd amassed lots of experience, opinions, and understandings, but I still felt hollow, like there was a hole in me that needed filling. And I emailed him, and I was like, you're getting this secretion out of a toad's neck, mate, and you're saying it puts you in touch with God. Can I come and smoke? And he was like, yeah, come over to Switzerland. I'm over here at the moment giving people the medicine. So I went over there and I smoked it, and I passed out after smoking the toad venom, and Jesus Christ was stood there, and he was like, you've been banging your head against a wall, and I've had enough of it. I'm stepping in. Stop this. And as he moved towards me, all of these memories flooded me, thousands of memories all at once that I didn't have. There were memories being given to me of times in my life when I'd been alone, felt alone, been angry, been happy, elated, excited, sad, and confused. And I thought I was on my own, but he showed me lots of pictures almost of him stood with me with his hand on my shoulder, or being with me, pushing me in the right direction, or telling me this or that. And basically it told me he's always been with me. He'd always had his eye on me, and it was now time to follow his son, Jesus Christ. And I I basked in his arms, and for the first time in my life, my shame disappeared into these big holes in his hands. And these holes in his hands took on my shame, mountains of shame that I carried. And I didn't have an identity. I was the I am. I thought I was God. I was that deluded. I was running around as a nutter, confused, and spouting all of this new age stuff to whoever would listen. And he, as he held me like a baby and I rocked in his arms and my shame was swallowed up in the holes in his hands, he said to me, you want to know who you are, don't you? That's what you've been looking. And I was like, so desperate, Lord. And I was already calling him Lord, strangely. It came to my tongue. And he said, you're my son. You're a child, and you're my child. Look at those fingers. Look at those eyelashes. Look at that hair. Look at the way you laugh, the way you perceive, the way you see. That's all from me. That's my blueprint in you. Now, look, and I just basked in his love. And I came to, looked at the medicine man, and he was like, how was that? And what happened? And I was like, I got the message. I need to hang up the phone. And I left, and I jumped on the plane, and I came back. And the next day, I took my dog out for a walk back in Pompey, where I grew up, where I was a drug addict for years on end. And I said, Lord, I give my life to you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for my behavior, my deception, for what I was. And in that moment, the Holy Spirit came into my life, and 13 years of drug addiction fell away like a leaf from a tree in autumn. And I became a disciple, and my life changed forever. And the next 7 years it's been now, so it's completely clean, found meaning and identity and calling and vocation and solace and peace and wonder, it all in him. Purpose found all in him, and not me, but yet I'm more me than I've ever been because he is at the core, you know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's how I can stand there and say damning things about myself online because I've given it all away. It's not
Yeah.
me anymore. I'm a new creature. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think any we do have a few Christian followers. I think you're going to end up getting invited to a lot of alpha groups.
Yeah, I've done a couple.
I doesn't surprise me, but wow, man. But even if there's somebody when I put it like, even if somebody's watching this going, oh, what a load of tosh.
Yeah,
Actually, do you know what that I'd say? Okay, that's cool. That's fine. But we are massive advocates that if something's working for somebody's mental health, whether that's believing in God or believing whatever else, obviously that's a different discussion. But as long as they're doing something, as long as a man's doing something to try and help themselves and their mental
yeah.
health and their mental state and their mental well-being, it's not wrong.
No, absolutely not. Completely agree with you.
And I think just hiding away from it and up to a point getting stuck in the pity part, we've said that quite a lot, getting stuck in the pity party,
Mm,
that's the wrong bit. As I've had footballers on here, I've had a sniper who started a knitting group at a local library of a load of old ladies. He
yeah,
loves to me,
yeah,
that'd be horrible, but but he loves it. That's what works for him and his mental
yeah,
health. I
yeah.
do I do a lot of wild camping and stuff like that. To be
Amazing.
fair, I tend to do it is yeah, is there a bit of masculinity of or a -17 but doesn't really matter what it is, keep my sources thing. Is there a bit of masculinity in there a little bit? Probably. But to be honest, me personally, it's because I've got no internet at all. My phone doesn't work. The only person who knows where I am is my wife because she makes me take my GPS tracker, which it does, it's like if you're married, you kind of have to compromise on some things, just so she can, just so she knows that if I haven't moved like a couple of days from a different spot, she knows probably something might be up, and it's just peace.
Yeah,
And the other thing for me is, yeah, getting away from people,
yeah. Solitude.
solitude. And me personally, I read my Bible more than I do on the mountains than I do anywhere
Yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah. You've got it down there. It's a really beautiful rhythm that you've got in your life.
No,
You're in.
exactly. And but I think with today's society, I think I can only speak from a male perspective. I don't know whether this is the same as female, but I think with men, I think we're so sucked into work, house, family, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes we're forgetting the ability, we're forgetting that we need to also remember who we are as men or as a man individually.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we just need to. I think we need to remind ourselves of that because our brains are just getting so fuzzed. We're kind of forgetting who we are.
We're inundated with different media outlets telling us who we are and telling us how to behave, and at the same time, completely pressured and crushed by the demands of modern life, the debt that gets pushed upon, the expectations that are placed upon us,
Yeah.
and grafting to survive and provide becomes more than a role. And if that fails or starts to falter, then maybe sometimes men can blame themselves because that was their full calling in a way. And I guess when that fails, you fail ultimately, don't you? And
Yeah.
that's a free falling moment, which is damn scary because where's the floor that you're going to fall to? And I really think that your rhythm of solitude in nature, being around creation in a way, and the sounds and the smells, and it's a mindful moment, isn't it? And for
Yeah.
the first time, you can quieten your mind, you can quieten the the outside sensory input of phones, advertising, TVs, and the normal routines of the day, which demands your presence, and you can center in on yourself, can't you? And I think that moment of solitude that you were speaking about there, and that sense of wonder of being in that natural environment, is like a balm for the soul, and is countercultural to our Western modernized busy life of consumption to feel good, etc. And that's actually starving yourself of certain consumption, which makes you feel whole. It's funny like that, I guess.
Absolutely. I think for me, especially when I go away, it's like I go there with just my brain just completely and utterly clouded.
Yeah,
But probably my own fault because here's me preaching, talk, 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 listen, listen, listen. But I even fall foul of letting things build up a little bit, which is why I make a point of going away. But it's like I go there, my head's completely fuzzy, and it's like somebody just picks me up, gives me a good shake, and I come back with the real problems, and I know I've got more focus on how to deal with them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the beautiful result of doing that, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's it's coming back to what matters in a way, and not rejecting, but kind of, it's like emptying the recycling bin on a computer.
yeah,
You're getting rid of all the trash and the junk that gets stuck in your brain that's swirling around, and intrusive thoughts maybe, or feelings, or moods, or responses to the pressures of life, and you're just stopping and allowing yourself to be, which is really powerful. And you'd think it would be normal for us, but it's not. It's not normal for us.
no, yeah. I think. I don't know whether it's an individual's problem, as in a man, or society's problem. I think somewhere along the line we've just been trained, but I don't know who's done the training of just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Mm.
No, I think that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's not right. It comes from a place of using a man rather than seeing a man. It comes
Yeah,
from a place of man being a tool in a larger system, and rather than man being a being that has feelings, and a rich inward world that needs attending to, and has perceptions that may be outside what is expected of him. That isn't seen because it doesn't bring in money. That isn't seen because it doesn't toe the line, so to speak. So you bury that stuff down and you carry on. You get on, and the more you bury that stuff down, it's like leaving food in a fridge. If I
yeah,
left a sandwich in a fridge and I came back to that sandwich a year later in a bag, and I opened the fridge door, there's someone at my door coming behind, sorry, and I open the fridge door, that food is going to be stagnant, it's going to be smelly. And it's the same when we push down all of these sincere or natural experiences, perceptions we're having, because they don't fit. It's like the cognitive bias thing, they don't fit. Someone's at my door. I got
Did
someone at
you,
the door.
did you want to quickly go?
My wife's gone. My wife's gone. No
Oh,
worries.
okay. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you've got this ideal which is placed upon society, isn't it? I felt it placed upon me in the society I grew up in. This ideal of how you are to, what the trajectory of your life looks like, and how you are to find that, and you have to achieve that. And if you don't, then maybe you don't fulfill what it means to be a man in our Western society. And if you're having experiences along the way which are counter to that kind of stereotypical ideal which is placed on certain Western men, then you bury that down. You're not going to be heard and seen if that happens. And maybe it's traditional, maybe it's hereditary. I can't remember the word. Maybe it's indigenous to our being. I don't quite know. I think it's a big conversation. Um,
It's a
that
never-ending conversation as well.
it
Yeah.
is. It is a never-ending conversation. Where I grew up, the culture was, I was in Portsmouth, and it was ex-naval town, a little bit of an island. people love their football and getting drunk. And as I grew up, my perception, my experience, my opinion, I'm not saying it's like this, it's just what I experienced. It was, as a man, you were expected to find your joy in how much it's strange in certain circles. Maybe I was in deluded circles. I most certainly was. But you were expected to find your joy and power in respect, in threat, and to build up your tower of self, of which you would look down on others because you were strong, because you had reputation, because you could use your fist, because you could sell drugs. You were seen, and this was just the circles, and this was normal. And if you needed to graft, you went out, you were a bricklayer, you were a trader, you know, and that was what was expected in some of the circles that I grew up in. And to have, I mean, in school and in social circles, we were never taught about expressing ourselves, having reflection on our emotions, so to speak. If you felt angry, you'd use your fist. If someone had a problem with you, you'd use your fist. If you, yeah, and this, I think this goes on in a lot of different places throughout the UK, and I think it contributes to I don't know, to men going off the rails to a degree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think we live in a society. I really want to say it's getting better. All I can do is literally hope and pray that it is getting, but I think it is getting better. I need to lose the arrogance a bit there, where I think we're telling men, more so men, what they should be and how they should be. Like I was saying earlier on, it's just, I don't know, like the whole crying thing, that there's a lot of blokes out there, they're not really cries, that they don't show emotion like that.
Yeah.
And so, for example, and I've researched this a lot, I've even asked a few people who are a lot more intelligent than I am to look at the question and research the question, does crying help with mental health?
Yeah.
Actually, the answer is no. It can temporarily help some people. So why are we using like the one size fits all? Is that opposite? Why are we using like the one size fits all of, well, you need to, Josh, you need to cry. Well, so
Mm.
I'm going to tell you cry. If I'm going to telling you to cry, even though you're talking to me, because you're not
Yep.
so because you're not showing me, even though you're saying it, then
Yep.
why would you continue talking to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to cause you just to keep bottling up. And I think that one size fits all solution. I think we're heavily promoted. The world's moving in a bit where everyone can be an individual,
Mhm.
but we're not allowed to be an individual unless we fit the mold.
Yep. Again, there's a lack of tolerance there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's
I
something.
think,
No, go on.
yeah, imposing that someone should, because certain pop culture, because pop culture has the idea that crying is a healthy outlet, and it shows vulnerability, and it shows that you're willing to be seen experiencing an emotion. It's seen as, well, if you're not doing that, then clearly you're bottling it up. But I think that is almost dogmatic. It's a demand upon
Mm.
an individual, and actually, I think for me, working with traumatized individuals for the last 12 years, I've found from my own frontline experience that actually that there's two much more powerful things that I've found, and that is radical acceptance and empathy, just bog standard empathy. And the acceptance is seeing what's happening before you and actually dropping, and this is a powerful thing for me, and actually dropping my expectation of what should be or what I think is or the cure that I think should happen for whatever the situation is that's happening before me, and actually just stepping into the cold light of day and looking upon that person if they're hurting, so to speak, for example, and just standing there and accepting in that moment. And when I can accept them rather than tell them how to do this or they should be doing that or this is how we cure that, when I accept them, I open up this space where I'm no longer being self-centered because I'm dominated by my own perceptions, thoughts, feelings, and
Mm.
demands and expectations. I actually enter into their sphere and become other-centered. And that creates a communal bubble between that hurting heart, that hurting personal, that person that's just there expressing, and me saying, I'm willing to leave my little self realm here, my little world that I've cultivated, and step into yours, whether or not you're on fire and burning. And if you are, I might employ empathy, which is the movement of my heart to offer my hand so I can burn with you for a moment, so I can stand next to you and look at you and be like, man, you're burning here. And I'm just going to step here and sit with you. There's no need for you to express in any way, shape, or form, but I'm just letting you know that we're relational beings, and I'm just going to step into this relational sphere without myself and just enter into a place of communal like what I guess what's called a connection. And in that moment, that person feels heard, seen, known, and validated, no matter how delusional or distorted what they need to be validated is for, because I'm looking past what I perceive or the behavior and looking at the person underneath it all and saying, you are of value and I am willing to stand here and burn with you. I am willing to create solidarity, fellowship, brotherhood, whatever you want to call it in this moment, and just bind. I think that's what we call love. And to love another rather than impose an idea upon someone about how they should be emotionally expressing because that fits my mold of what strength is or what vulnerability is. And I find when those moments have happened in my life with individuals that I've seen beautiful experiences in my own heart and in other people's hearts when I've forgotten myself. Self-forgetfulness is a great power, and we're taught in our society, self-help, you do you, build your own sphere, build your own tower, you have to achieve, follow your dreams, all
Yeah.
of these. And actually I found in situations in my experience, I'm not saying this is the truth, just on the front line working with people, that it's the opposite. When I forget myself, there seems to be a power that moves through when I'm willing to offer my heart to another and not have the drawbridges up of my heart, because that is where people become isolated. When the drawbridge is up of your heart and you're not willing to let another rest there, sit there, or enter in. And we build blockades around our hearts, and that is the true. That's where isolation creeps in for
Yeah.
communities, for individuals, when other people aren't willing to offer that space, or you're not willing to do it for another.
Yeah. Please tell me you do talks.
No, I actually don't. I just
You
do my
need
little
you need
Instagram.
you need to be doing talks.
Oh, thank you.
Really,
That experience there just comes from working in children's homes with traumatized children that have been taken from their family, and they are presenting certain behaviors. And I've looked inwardly at them in the moments. I had training as well and read
yeah,
books on psychotherapy and stuff and equipped myself with tools. And in moments of seeing broken children that have been raped and abused and thinking, what does that child need from me right now? They're spitting at me, calling me a paedophile and punching me. But what do they need right now?
yeah,
They just need someone to sit with them in that pain, because what's happened to them has violated them. And that pain is all stuck inside them, ricocheting inside their fragile form. And if I, as a healthy adult, can sit and just sit with them and give them an open space to say, yeah, this is rough. What you've been through is horrendous, but I'm just going to sit with you. I'm not disgusted or terrified by you. I yearn to build some small shred of connection for maybe even a millisecond, because that is more powerful than me saying you should be doing this or pointing the finger. Because when I point and say something, I separate myself from the being. And again, we're relational beings. We need that. That's why our parents need to hold us when we're first born. That's why love in the first 5, 6 years of our life and delight in us is so powerful for the attachment that we have with other adults and relationships for the rest of our life. And men, again, don't receive that level of connection, whether it's from a friend or whether it's from
yeah,
a partner even sometimes. And we don't know how to ask for it either. I definitely don't. Still
yeah,
learning every day and
yeah.
struggling.
Yeah, and to be fair, and this is one of those things where I like to equalize it, if that's the right word. Is I don't know, blame's the wrong word, but it's the only one I can fit. I don't know who's to blame for it. Is that ourselves or is that society? I really don't know. But I think this is why we have our focus of, yeah, we tell men to talk, but we've said many, many times, sometimes the best thing to do if somebody's talking to you is just know when to shut up.
Yep, silence is a powerful tool.
Absolutely, and just listen. But the one thing just before I forget, because you mentioned the care system, personally, I think I'm qualified to say this because I'm from the care system.
Oh wow.
It was horrible. I've done that thing where the social workers come to pick you up back then in their little crappy Fiesta,
Yeah.
dump all of your clothes in a black bag or a little box. I've been there many, many times. So actually, to hear someone like you, especially now, because when I was in the system, it was horrendous. No,
Mm,
nobody listened, nobody cared, and even
no.
even if you did run away or whatever else, you get a copper to pick you up out of the lobby in the back of a car, and then because of that, you get moved. So. Thank you for the kids and the people you deal with, because I know damn well that you would just kind of choking up a little bit, but I know damn well that somebody like you would make a massive impact on their life.
Thank you, man.
So
You made goosebumps go up all my arms.
I appreciate things like that. Things like that really give me the feelings. They really do, because being in care sucks. It really does. I think for me, I don't want to. We've got to draw to a close in a minute as well, but it's just I think when I hear stories about the care system of just like still social workers are just putting kids' property in like a black bag
Yep.
and stuff like that. And I think there was a campaign of like donate a bag,
Yeah,
donate a bag. I'm like, come on, it's just give people dignity.
it's basic, the basic things. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. So
yeah.
just before we draw to a close, there's that little cue. I always try to end the video like if somebody's watching this triggered, doesn't really matter what it is. Do you know what, up to a point, I don't think it really needs to be just men, but obviously a men's mental health charity. If a bloke is feeling a little bit naff, I don't know, they might be dabbling in stuff they shouldn't be. Doesn't really matter what it was. But what's your word of wisdom? I know that's such an open question, but I do it on purpose.
It's an open question. I guess it's specific to what they're struggling with. Again, there's the cliche things of speaking to people, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think for me, and I can only speak from my own experience because anything else would be regurgitated stuff
Yeah.
from places I've seen, like pop culture, and like, oh, speak to someone, seek help, ring up someone. There's Samaritans. There is this, and they're all good and viable options, of course. But I think for me, and again, it's a hard one for me. For my life, what was I seeking, and what was my identity? These were the things that I was suicidal in 2010. When I was 20 and I was malnourished I was 6 years deep into my daily ketamine use habit in a shared house with no lock on my door. And I was depressed deeply. And I saw a butterfly, and I did a video about it the other day, and I saw a butterfly
I
and saw the
watched that.
beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
beauty of the butterfly, and it triggered me. And I was like, how come this butterfly is so beautiful and fluttering around in freedom out my window? And I'm sat here with snot up my sleeves, holes in my jacket, malnourished. Am I of not more value than that butterfly? And I thought, I'm going to go and look. I'm going to search because there's no other point of me being on the planet right now. That's how I feel. It wasn't reality. That's how I feel. So I'm going to go and search for meaning. I'm going to go and search for why I'm here. And if there's a heart behind this whole universe, then I want to be part of that heart because I think that's the right place to rest, you know? So I
Yeah.
guess if someone's struggling, I would say seek out someone. If you haven't got someone there, then I would say pray.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a taboo subject, but I would say pray to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
I absolutely stand by, and we've had people who've mentioned faith before, and there are every now and again you get the odd comments, "Oh, science doesn't prove it," and all, and I'm just like, you know what, whatever.
Yeah.
If it works for you,
Yeah.
and you've gone from basically a druggie years
Yeah.
ago, I've been there myself. I've done the whole homeless thing. I've done the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been through all of that kind of journey. If we've gone from that to actually knowing who we are now and holding jobs, marriage, kids, it's not wrong.
I mean, and also if we're doing all those things and it was a change like that, then there's some evidence there that something's changed in our hearts, right? And maybe that's worth pursuing
Absolutely.
and peering through the curtain, so to speak.
Absolutely. And on that
Yeah.
bombshell, I think that's the bit where I'm going to hit the unrecord button. I still don't know if that's right word or
I think
not.
that sounds about right.
Yeah,